Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Hate It Here, where we spend 1 hour hating humanity so you don't have to. I'm your host, as always, Richard Lewis, and with me, lurking in the dark like a mugger, it is, of course, my producer, Sam. How are you doing?
Boys? It's gone out the gate hot, mate. It's gone out fast.
This is the serious show. I expect you to, turn up to work
happy,
and
mate. You start good, and it just slides on down into it.
yeah, but we've just done one before this.
Yeah, I'm trying to hype myself back up, mate. Trying to get back to the happy place, my safe space.
Oh, all right. I suppose you can be forgiven. We do need it. Phew, I should have had a proper drink actually in the break, I think. But anyway, let's just do it. Let's just get into it. So this is an all right story to start with, right? This one's this one's okay. So, quite distressing news that over in Passaic County, there was a school where they found a bomb. Okay, and they called the New Jersey authorities over to investigate. And basically, what had happened was a group of 10 and 11-year-olds were upset about a friend who was being bullied, so they devised a plot to bomb the high school where the bullying was happening. The only problem was they couldn't really get the right ingredients for a bomb. So the bomb was made of vegetable oil, salad dressing, and cinnamon.
Sound almost.
I mean, they're pretty close.
Yeah.
I reckon they went on YouTube and they were like, "Have you seen that fucking cinnamon challenge?
That'll just blow mad up, like.
You put some salad dressing in that."
Recommend.
And, but it's certainly. I don't know what happened to the kids. Obviously, it's reminiscent of the fake clock story. I wonder if these kids will be suing the school. Let's see. Who knows what? Watch this space. But yeah, just ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, you can't go around making bombs, but when they're made of, vegetable oil.
Why have they gotten so harmless? Fuck anyway, they've had one.
Yeah, I mean, these
straight
kids,
to
to
bombs,
be fair,
mate. Didn't even go for a knife or anything, like straight bombings.
If I was an American recruitment agency, a military outlet, I'd be monitoring these kids. I'm like, you're made of the right stuff. Like because one of their friends was being bullied in school, they decided to bomb the whole school.
Straight bombs. Straight to drone strikes. Why not?
Why not, mate? Gangster. Fucking straight gangster. Anyway, we go from a gangster, children who got bombed. This story's brilliant, by the way, mate. Like, this actually had me creased. So, we had, this is over in Woodstock. There was a guy was kidnapped by two men who invaded his home. They were armed with hammers. They tied him up, left him in the basement, and sort of ransacked the house and stuff. Anyway, the guy who was in his mid-40s was able to, get out of the situation he was in, untie himself, and he just decided, I'm just going to go straight to work. Fuck it.
Who does he work for?
Got things to do, but
he must be getting
not going to let no home invasion make me have a day off. I've got a streak going. I haven't had a day off in 2 years. I got a bonus coming. Fucking home invasion. So, this is just unreal. Right? When asked by an acquaintance, like, why he was late or whatever, and he told him what happened, and the acquaintance went, yeah, you should probably report that to the police. So he goes, yeah, I will do, at the end of my shift. So he goes home at 5:30 and calls the police then, saying, yeah, I was the victim of a home invasion, got robbed. And I got a bit of an injury to my foot. Probably hammered it. Or might have been a
Straight
blind girl with a
hammer to the
cane.
ankle. Yeah.
Who knows?
Just took my
And he just said, "But don't need no medical treatment, me." So
I'm sound, mate. Walk it off.
So just walk it off. So I mean, this guy's just on the one hand, yeah, he's a legend, but I'm kind of a little bit worried about his cognitive process here.
Yeah, also a bit of a monk, of course.
Yeah, of course. So that's just next level. Like, I'm off to work, boys. See you.
Where does he work? Why is there not more information about him? All it says about him is he's in his mid-40s. That's all we know.
Yeah, because obviously I don't think he wants to be identified. You know.
I understand why, man.
Thing is, like, give that guy a job.
Exactly.
You want him identified? I'd be like, yeah, put his name in the papers. That's a loyal employee, that is. So anyway, another ridiculous story. This was over in the Herald News, over in Michigan, I believe it is. Or was it Michigan? I can't remember where it was now. Hang on, let me just check. No, I think this was in Canada, actually.
Yeah, it's Canada.
Anyway, bottom line, right? This guy, just a ridiculous story. A 27-year-old man is caught with 51 live turtles in his pants. And he's a Chinese chap living in Canada. I don't know what he's got that many turtles in his pants for. I can but speculate. Well, true. True. Where else could he?
We haven't tried to ship 150 turtles, mate.
I mean, what I love about it is the headline where it says, "Man arrested with 51 live turtles in his pants pleads guilty to smuggling." Well, you kind of caught there. Like, yeah. What else are you gonna say?
Guilty,
no, I'm half man, half aquarium. How are you gonna get out of that one?
I identify as an aquarium.
What he should have done is he should have said, "Actually, I'm like a furry, and these are my many partners, and I'm polyamorous, and we're all having sex right now." I don't know what the laws for turtle sex are in Canada, but I imagine you could probably just get away with it. If he'd been more quick-witted, he probably could have skated.
Yeah, I think the turtle sex law is pretty lax.
Yeah, I don't think they've never really had to invoke it, have they? But yeah, it does say here, just to give you an idea of how ridiculous it was, he had 41 of the turtles strapped to his legs and 10 hidden in his pants.
Have you seen how much it says he regularly deals in turtle shipments worth $30,000, $80,000, or $125,000. This guy's getting mad turtle pee, mate. This guy's out of his fucking mind.
Loves turtles, mate. What more can I say?
Turtles, like.
He fucking just loves them. Just loves to
trade
trade turtles.
It is, if he's getting that amount of mad turtle, right? Why is he gone full like needs the 50 in his pants? Surely that's an ocean.
Mate, I'll they should be dropped in an ocean, mate. The point is that this is what happens. Like, we've all asked the question: what happened to all the kids that grew up with Pokemon, and how would they cope? Well, here we are. This is what that's what he's doing. It's a substitute, isn't it? There isn't any more good Pokemon games, so now he's collecting all the turtles. And instead of a Pokeball, he's using his fucking Pokeballs. He's using his pants.
All, mate.
Yeah, got to smuggle them all in any orifice that you can. Speaking of, way up inside your butthole, Morty. So we go from one guy with something in his pants that he doesn't want a court to see. We go to a court case in Portland where a guy, I can't say this, a guy called Ricky Cheeks.
This is why I've stopped reading the stories before the show. It's much better. It's much more fun.
Ricky Cheeks.
Ricky Cheeks, man.
Ricky Cheeks brought fecal matter to court in a bag as evidence.
His own bag.
I'll just read
his own feces, mate.
I'll just read it. A defendant brings so-called evidence to a Portland court that leaves the judge and lawyers shocked. Ricky Cheeks was in court on a misdemeanor disorderly conduct charge. As courtroom audio shows, Cheeks brought in his own feces as evidence, claiming he was being targeted in jail. I don't even see the link. Cheeks put the feces in an envelope full of legal papers and placed it on a desk in the courtroom. This fecal matter was left in my cell yesterday after I got back from court. So how am I supposed to protect myself, sir, from all these atrocities in this court system, said Cheeks. Judge Jerry Hodson was clearly shocked to hear what Cheeks had brought into the courtroom. For health reasons, I think we should remove the fecal matter from the desk, said the judge. Deputies took the envelope containing the feces out of the courtroom and disposed of them. Cheeks has a long criminal history and was diagnosed with schizophrenia in October, but a judge determined he was competent to stand trial. The disorderly charges against him were dropped, but he is now facing drugs charges. Well, I can't say I'm surprised. What a fucking legend Ricky Cheeks is, though. Look at him. Looks like fucking Nick Nolte.
Ricky Cheeks.
Ricky Cheeks, mate.
Sounds like a nickname
Brilliant.
for you, mate. Ricky Cheeks.
I think I found my new Steam profile. Just Ricky Cheeks, mate. So we'll go to the next one. We're going all around the houses. We got turtles in your pants. We got shit in an envelope. And now we've got a man from Texas who has been put behind bars after he assaulted his girlfriend. And, there's never any good reason.
Fucking headlines unreal, man.
There's never any good reason to assault your girlfriend, but there's some reasons are worse than others. And decided to assault his girlfriend because she wouldn't smell his armpit. He asked his girlfriend to smell his armpit. When she said no, they got into an argument. And he responded by hitting her on the back of the head with a closed fist and then held a knife to her throat.
Fucking hell.
So, in his defense, he says, I didn't threaten her. I threw the knife into the sink because I was angry. That's what really happened.
Even angry?
Yeah. Don't even know, buddy. I don't know. I mean, maybe he's come home, he's had a hard day's work, and he's like, do I stink? And he does that. But at the point where she goes, I don't really want to know, I just don't get why you get upset by that.
You fucking what?
Like, what? How can I know how my armpits smell if you don't tell me?
I've got a nose, bitch. You know this.
It's fucking unreal. Unreal. This was sort of the last in the stupid section. But it's not really stupid. I mean, this deserves its own section. This is basically what's happening in every country where we have given corporations more and more control and surrendered more and more workers' rights. Walmart, of course, one of the biggest corporations in the world. Well, this story is simply unbelievable. A Walmart worker was fired after 18 years loyal service because he found $350 in cash in a store parking lot, but he did it too slowly.
Sound.
Right, and I'll contextualize this. So he found $350, and he had a bit of a temptation, like, ooh, I found $350. You know, maybe I should keep this. Maybe this is like some karmic response to me working for fucking Walmart for 18 years. You know, and just getting fucked in the ass every goddamn day that I go and work for that company. But $350 on the floor. Anyway, he took half an hour pondering over it. Should I keep it? Should I not? And then he said, you know what? I'm an honest man. So I'm going to go give it back. I'm going to go hand this money in. His reward for doing that was to be fired for gross misconduct because he hesitated. Because he was tempted. So it's like he says in the article here, he says, You know, I never stole anything. They didn't let me explain. You know, and he's like, I enjoyed my job. I was a good employee. I always got to work on time, and I've been treated like a common criminal. And indeed, he hasn't committed a crime.
No.
So he's lost his job now. He'll be unemployed. And of course, it's happened just before Christmas as well.
Perfect time, mate.
So
Just at the high time of suicide. Perfect time.
and yeah. And of course, what happens is when you work at Walmart for 20 years, you get a lifetime discount card, which means you get 20% off everything from Walmart forever. And he was 2 years short of getting that, and he doesn't get it. On top of that, more pressing, he's got $680 a month rent he can't pay, car payments. He's got a wife on disability. And because he took half an hour to decide whether he wanted to keep a cheeky Christmas bonus, he's been fired. Ridiculous story. But again, sign of the times. Now, while we're talking about ridiculous rules in ridiculous countries, is there a more ridiculous country than Sweden, Sam?
Fucking hell. We going this deep, we met.
Well, I don't see how it's relevant to anything else.
I think it's a pretty ridiculous country. The thing is, I like the country. Like, the actual country's nice. The people are nice. Everyone speaks English. I don't know. Everything is quite
I always
efficient.
think that is a bit jingoistic when you say things like that, I think.
What do you mean?
That's almost bordering on. I never like that when British people say that.
What,
like,
never speaks English?
It's great over there. They don't speak English.
Yeah, because it makes it easy for my life, mate. If I was
Right.
if I was Danish and everyone spoke Danish, I'd say it's great. Everyone speaks Danish.
Well, anyway, so yeah, I mean, Sweden did have a lot of good ideas at one point, but they're fighting a losing battle here, Sam.
Indeed they are, mate.
The radical feminists and the progressive thinkers, they're taking over Sweden, and we've talked on the show about some of the other problems. We've talked about that video where the children are singing "My country is your country and I am happy to give it to you" while doing a one-finger salute of solidarity for Islam, which I find all a bit weird and creepy. There's no need for that. You're going a bit too far there, Sweden. Just say, hey, when you come here, we're all equals, yeah? But equally, don't fuck around and do ridiculous things. That's it. That's all you need to say to anyone that comes to your country, isn't it? Yeah, we got some laws over here and some values. Respect them and sound. That's it. You don't need to have kids singing a song and wagging a finger, do you? But Sweden, they are just aching to be so progressive. So it's a rarity for this show. It's actually a story I wrote about on Breitbart, but it did do the rounds. It's also in The Guardian. So if you want to have a look at the way the left and the right covered it, you can check out The Guardian, same story if you Google it. But I think certainly in the UK, I would imagine we all think this is ridiculous. So this is the news that the Swedish women's lobby is going to issue every 16-year-old in Sweden a copy of "We Should All Be Feminists." And this is designed to assist progressive thinking. So the quote from the head of the group was that this is a gift to future generations, because it'll make us all cognizant of feminism, not egalitarianism, not equality, feminism, of course, which in practice, it's kind of like, when people used to talk about communism, and we'd all go, communism's a noble idea, but, every boring asshole down a pub would say this, if you ever talk to politics, communism's great in theory, but it never works in practice. Like, aren't we there with feminism yet? Yeah. Can we not say that with feminism now? Like, apart from the fact it's like just so radically fucking outdated.
I mean, you definitely can't say that, though. That's the problem. You definitely can't say that aloud.
You definitely can't. So, I mean, this is like Maoist China with the little red book.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You get given it's a manifesto, basically. You get given a manifesto on feminist ideology. And it's really interesting because the UK government, for once, tried to do something that I consider proactive and sensible in our educational system. And that is that for the A-level politics syllabus, there was a huge part which was just solely dedicated to feminism as a movement. And what they wanted to do was cut back on that so you could focus on other things that were more, more across the board, more all-encompassing. Civil rights, that kind of thing. And they decided to remove the specific feminist section, which isn't to say feminist movements weren't going to be taught. The suffragette movement, of course, would still be taught. Obviously, that makes sense, right? But it was just going to be covered in more general terms, and they were going to be filed under a protest and pressure group and how it can influence societal changes, right? Which is good. But anyway, feminists got up in arms about it. 40,000 signatures on a petition to basically bring back feminism having a more prominent position on the syllabus. And in Sweden, this is the way it's going. I read a story the other day as well where what the Swedish government wants to do is they want women in the educational system to be able to get into technology more. And it's a bizarre drive that we've had, this whole take back the tech kind of movement, because it does mean something in countries where women are being prevented from taking those jobs. But certainly in the West and in Europe and all these other countries, it's not really a thing. But anyway, I read a story the other day, which I don't have to hand, and I'm probably going to write about it in a bit more detail. But basically, the Swedish government is going to allow women to choose college courses that would cost thousands of dollars, thousands of pounds, whatever currency you're using, thousands of them, right? Or if it's Zimbabwean dollars, millions and millions and trillions of them. And the government is going to allow the women to basically take those courses and then underwrite the costs. So they get that course for free. They get that education for free solely because they're women, because they want women to have a risk-free entry into technology careers. Meanwhile, men have got to pay. Sweden.
Quality, of course.
Yeah, quality, of course. Sweden, of course. So, but that's one of those things. I think we need to monitor Sweden. They are an example of what can happen when progressiveness goes too wrong, too far. But we're now going to do a whole section of the show dedicated to a country that could never be called progressive. In fact, a country that is happy to exist in the fucking Stone Age, one of the most repellent and repulsive regimes on planet Earth. And no, I'm not talking about Port Talbot and Neath Council.
North Korea?
Oh, North Korea. No, talking about Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia comes up every week. It's almost as if they just do horrific things with frightening regularity. And of course, let's not forget, they're the head of the UN's Human Rights Council. So let's take a look at what the head of the UN Human Rights Council is up to this week. Well, a Saudi woman was convicted of adultery, and she has been sentenced to be killed by stoning.
Yep, Sam, that's fair. Why not?
Meanwhile, the man who was also engaged in the act of adultery gets 100 lashes.
Yep, so.
Now,
this is fucking insane, mate. How this is still happening in the world today.
Right. Well, let's just go through it. So obviously, the human rights lawyers have spoken about this and they say she's accepted the crime 4 times in the courts, but the Foreign Employment Bureau has hired lawyers and have appealed against the case. The appeal is going on. Also, from the Foreign Ministry side, they are in negotiation with the Saudi government on a diplomatic level. Saudi Arabia follows Sharia law, often criticized by human rights groups for being outdated and overly harsh, as it still uses a system of physical punishments, such as lashes, and carries the death penalty for crimes such as adultery for married women and drug smuggling. And just so we're clear about what stoning actually entails, Yes, there are two types of stoning. The one in Saudi Arabia that's practiced is they aren't buried up with only their head showing. They are fully upright. So it's actually usually more a far longer process to kill somebody. When you're buried up to your neck, you just chuck a brick on your head, and that's that. It's certainly not a pleasant way to go, but it's certainly quicker than if you've got your whole body to aim at.
Yeah,
Where
then
you
you
just
just
get
get
up.
battered by
Right.
stones for a good like 5 hours.
So Saudi Arabia, still killing women for doing things that they're perfectly entitled to. I mean, far be it from me to say that marriage is a fucking sham anyway, and I can't understand why any country would make adultery illegal, let alone punishable by fucking death. I mean, seriously. And the West, we're allied with these people. We have allowed them to be on the Human Rights Council. These people, this regime, and I stress the regime, not the people of Saudi Arabia who have to live with this shit, but the regime. It's almost as if, I don't know, our morals were kind of compromised because they had a lot of oil.
Maybe, mate.
How can we live in a world where ISIS is referred to as a death cult for the things they do? Saudi Arabia is on the head of the UN Human Rights Council. I can't stress this enough. What the fuck is going on?
It's almost like people need to be distracted from Saudi Arabia's lack of civil rights. And we needed oil. So, we have something, you have, boys, see what's happening?
Yeah.
Give you this chair, you give me bare oil.
One hand washes the other, unless, of course, your hand's been chopped off for stealing.
Bread.
Which they also do.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a second. So if you think that woman being sentenced to death by stoning for exercising her right to have an affair at the age of 45, after what I'm sure is at least 20 years of marriage, if I know anything about Saudi, then they also sentenced a poet to death. And they did this because he renounced Islam. So committing the crime of blasphemy. So this poet is a Palestinian poet, and is well known in Saudi Arabia's contemporary art scene. A guy called Ashraf Fayyad. And he's been all over the place. This is a guy who's had art shows in Venice. And he didn't have any legal representation. He went there basically sort of knowing what was going to happen. Now, it's interesting because he was originally sentenced to 800 lashes and 4 years in prison.
Fucking hell.
Right? Because he wrote a poem that renounced Islam. And then, after his appeal, he got retried. And they said, actually, when you repented the first time to get the 4 years and the 800 lashes, we don't believe you were genuine. So now, even though this would never happen in any Western appeals process whatsoever, we're going to give you a harsher sentence than what we already gave you. And now you're getting executed. And here's the worst part about it. He said, I was really shocked, but it was expected.
Fucking hell.
So, I mean, there's a long article about it on The Guardian. Read it. Your mind will be boggled. But basically, his poetry, which is of an atheist bent, is punishable by death in Saudi Arabia. And again, we're going to allow this. We're going to allow this. No one's going to intervene to save this artist from being murdered because he said, "Do you know what? Maybe a silly man in the sky isn't real. We're gonna kill him, and everyone's gonna watch." Incredible, isn't it? This is, of course, modern society. This is the great global society we live in 2015. I don't even think things this brutal were happening in medieval Europe, frankly, or anywhere in the world. This is ridiculous. How antiquated and out of time it is. It certainly shouldn't be happening in this day and age.
Even before, at least it was beheadings. These guys are getting stoned to death and lashed to death.
Well, no. On a plus side, Sam, what I will say is this guy will be beheaded with a sword.
All right, so.
Which is the method of execution in Saudi Arabia.
Also, 800 lashes basically kills you, right? Like, how do you survive like after a good 100, you're back.
Well, see, this is the beauty of it. They don't give you 800 lashes in a row.
All right, okay.
They give you, yeah. So you get like 50 lashes, and then you have a day off, and then you get 50 lashes, and then you know. So it's drawn out. I mean, it's incredibly. The person applying that obviously is a fucking sadist, because you don't get your 800 lashes all in one go, because you're right that you would die very shortly into it, and they want you to get all 800, very much so. So yep, you can read about that. Now we're going to stay on this theme because just to place this in context, because context is important. This, at the moment, in a BBC report which was brought out yesterday, they say that there is a unprecedented wave of executions in Saudi Arabia at the moment. So you've got the apostasy crime there that we've just talked about. 3 young Shia Muslims arrested when they were minors are going to be beheaded. And, of course, there's a list of executions imminent of more than 50 people on this waiting list to be beheaded by swords. And this BBC report talks about some of these examples. And, of course, the bizarre place we find ourselves in where we're trying to condemn it internationally, but obviously not too much, not too loud, because we really need that oil. And unfortunately, this is the price of our dependency, and it almost makes me wonder if perhaps we hadn't have had such petty differences with people like Hugo Chavez back when he was the president of Venezuela, which I believe is the 4th largest oil-producing country in the world, and of course he was a former chairman of OPEC as well. If we'd perhaps picked some more sensible alliances, should we say? We could have had a slightly more ethical dependency on oil than one that puts us in bed with this Saudi Arabian monarchy. Now, let's have a look at the executions that occurred in 2014, just to give you an idea of the numbers. So starting at the bottom and working my way up, Singapore, which has, of course, been condemned by Amnesty International, as is Malaysia. They had 2 apiece. Japan, 3. You work your way up. Okay, now we're getting to the radical countries. Afghanistan, right? 6. Pakistan, 7. Somalia, or as I like to call it, gangland. Right?
Pirate land, mate.
It's unfucking real there, mate. 14. Egypt, 15. Okay, then, this is where it gets really interesting. The USA, 35.
What? Sorry? Sorry?
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, USA still killing people. Still killing people in barbaric and inhumane ways. But then we get into this, right? So Iraq, 61. And that's in 2014. So that's the Iraq where we deposed Saddam Hussein and instilled a sympathetic, enlightened, pro-Western government, still killing people. Why not? So in 2014, Saudi Arabia executed 90 people. And in this year, they've done 150 so far.
They're deep in, mate. Trying to break
with
Iran's
another 50,
record.
with another 50 on the books before the end of the year.
Grim.
Yep, unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable. Meanwhile, China, no
Straight
figures,
in.
of course. I often heard this rumor whenever we talked about China. I'd love to verify it now that I'm all grown up. But I remember when I was young. Apparently, in China, if a family member of yours commits a crime, which is worthy of execution, the state kills him by firing squad, and you have to pay for the bullets.
Jesus Christ.
You get the bill. I can't believe that's true. But if it is, if there's any Chinese people out there that have knowledge of such things, please tell me. I'd like to know. Anyway, on with Saudi Watch. It doesn't end there. So you can imagine with all of this, right? You're on course to execute 200 people in a year for crimes such as writing poetry or getting your fucking underwear, right? Big crimes. Big crimes. So naturally, a few people got upset about this. There were several people who actually were quite intelligent and were like, hang on a minute. Saudi Arabia doing all of this heinous shit. Aren't ISIS doing the exact same heinous shit? Almost as if there was some sort of fundamental problem with Sharia law. Not Islam. Sharia law.
Yeah.
Okay? Which of course is ridiculous. Because if you were to apply the literal laws as they stood in the Bible in a Christian state, then you would have problems too. Big problems. Your girlfriend would have to go and sleep in a field with the animals when she menstruated. And, if she didn't, she's getting stoned to death as well. I mean, the Bible's
Jeez, stoned.
Gays, they're getting stoned. Everyone's having a bad time. So the problem is when you take divine mandate from any text and apply it in a literal form. I'm amazed not many people seem to make this argument. The problem isn't Islam, the problem is Sharia law. In all of the countries where they apply Sharia law, that is the problem, Sharia law. Because it's ridiculous. You're applying an anachronistic text that makes no fucking sense whatsoever in a modern, enlightened world. And they were a bit ham back then. They were a bit OTT because they really wanted people to believe. So it was like, well, if you do this, you die. You do that, you die. What about if I don't put 2 sugars in my tea every day? Die, of course. You're dead.
Death.
So, yeah, death. So anyway, so a few people made the comparison that, maybe Saudi Arabia and ISIS are kind of similar. How did Saudi Arabia respond to this criticism? They threatened to sue anyone on Twitter who compared their kingdom to ISIS.
Sick.
And they said they would do it.
Wouldn't they lose?
Now, well, I don't know, mate.
It's called a bluff.
I don't even know. Well, people have been calling a bluff. There was a hashtag, Sue Me Saudi, I think it was. Or Saudi Sue Me.
If you win, mate, you get that dirty oil money. I reckon that's worth the risk of dying, that is. That's worth the risk of getting wrecked.
Brilliant.
Might have to.
But they... But yeah, so this is I haven't heard of anything this ridiculous. Do you remember when Ryan Giggs fucked his brother's wife?
Yeah.
And he tried to make it so nobody was. And he was the super injunction. Yeah. I wrote an article about it called Super Injunction 64, I think. I can't remember. But anyway, the point is, he tried to put this ridiculous super injunction in place. And of course, people just broke it. And it's get fucked. It's never going to stand up. So this is definitely not going to stand up. And I'm going to show you why when you bring up the image that I've got too. So some little wag, right? Some smart individual who likes a bit of a jape, right? Some clowning around, some tomfoolery, drew up a graphic which compared the punishments proposed and enacted by the Islamic State compared to Saudi Arabia, the kingdom of. That is, of course, again, just to stress it, the head of the UN Human Rights Council and a wonderful ally to the West. So, let's have a look at them. You can see for the crime of blasphemy, acts of homosexuality, treason and murder, ISIS believes in death. And Saudi Arabia says, yep.
So, fair.
Bummers are dead. Fucking blasphemers are dead. Treason's
Bombing
dead.
dead.
Murder's
Poetry dead.
yeah, yeah, all dead. Right. So then you go down. Slander, right? So I'm actually with ISIS.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I get slandered. I'm kidding. Slander and drinking alcohol, 80 lashes, which I imagine you get concurrently with ISIS. I don't think they really care if you live or die.
I think you can live through
Saudi Arabia, all right. We'll give you this one at the discretion of a judge, which means it could be worse.
Yeah,
of course.
exactly. It could be way worse.
A million lashes. Adultery, if married, and again, this is primarily women that get this. Death by stoning. For ISIS, Saudi Arabia, death by stoning. Adultery, if not married, right? 100 lashes and exile. Saudi Arabia, 100 lashes, no exile.
See, mate? They're not bad.
Very liberal. Very liberal. Stealing, ISIS say you should have a hand amputated. Saudi Arabia, specify it's your right hand.
Yeah.
So no wanking for you.
Yeah, exactly. Which is doubly fucking you over if you go by stats. Just making sure they can fuck over as many people as possible.
Or wanking for you, man. Banditry, aka theft of a sort of more organised crime-related manner, you get your hand and foot amputated. And Saudi Arabia say that as well. So ISIS and Saudi the same again. Now, if you are involved in organised crime, aka banditry, and you steal and kill people, ISIS believe you should be crucified for that, which isn't a particularly pleasant way to go. Saudi Arabia, they'll just chop your head off with a sword. So I guess, again, they are a bit... Yeah, I am overreacting, aren't I? I am. So the idea to lack the self-awareness, you know, as a state to be like, yeah, we're not like ISIS at all. In fact, we're totally against ISIS. We stand with the West against ISIS. All of your values are the same. All of your laws and principles are the same. You treat your citizens exactly the same as if they were under the Islamic State. So what's the difference? Other than, of course, the fact that we've got these incredible, wonderful business relationships, and they have the ability to be able to deliver huge volumes of oil as and when we need it.
What's that? You're killing innocent people? Yeah, still got that oil though, ain't you, mate? All right, so.
And it's sad that you can just break it down to something so obvious. You know? It's ridiculous. Anyway, we move away from Saudi Arabia. Let's move into police corruption. I'll skip out the first link there, Sam, because it's part of an ongoing story. I mean, it's up to you. Basically, long story short. No, go on then. Let's do it. Yeah. Let's bring it up. So this is over in Cook County, where a 17-year-old was shot 16 times by a Chicago police officer. I mean, reasonable.
Yeah, definitely justified, of course. Needed that.
Reasonable, of course. And it happened at a Burger King, near a Burger King restaurant, where the 17-year-old, black, of course, was shot and killed by a police officer. As I said, shot 16 times. 9 of the shots, 9, were in the victim's back. All right. I don't know. Maybe he was running away and didn't pose a risk. What do I know? Anyway, because it was near a Burger King, the investigation went to Burger King and secured the CCTV footage, which runs around and actually was overlooking the scene of the shootout. Now it seems, bizarrely, that the time between which the initial contact was made and the shooting happened at approximately 9:50 p.m., 86 minutes of footage on that tape has gone missing between the hours of 13 minutes past 9 to 39 minutes past 10. Just disappeared. Weird, just like that. Weird, mate. Someone must have been there with a magnet.
It's fucking up the tape for a laugh.
Eyewitnesses described the shooting as an execution.
Okay.
But unfortunately, there will be no video evidence to corroborate this. It seems that detectives deleted the files. So yeah, good old Chicago PD there now as well, just in case you haven't had enough of police corruption. This story again, it's over in San Antonio. And remember, by the way, Sam, the reason we pull these stories up every week, we have to dig really deep to find these, don't we? I mean, it's not like just every week there's civilians being killed and maimed permanently by people they employ to protect and serve them. It's not as if, it's not as if America has a problem with their police. It's not as if American police are out of control.
Definitely not a
you would
race
be
problem either.
No. Well, actually, look, hey, good news. Good news. This guy's Hispanic. So, we got that going. So, this is a man who was beaten by three. When he was 42 years old, he was beaten by three San Antonio police officers, and he had to have surgery as a result of these injuries because they fucked up his spine so much. Well, there was complications in the surgery, and now he's paralyzed from the chest down for the rest of his life.
Sick.
Now let's just pour this on, because I know you're thinking, must have done something. Well, they were chasing another suspect who was wanted on drugs and weapons charges. Another Hispanic man. One who has gang tattoos and prominent facial tattoos. But they didn't find him. They instead found this 42-year-old guy, Roger Carlos. And so adamant, or that they thought he might be a threat, or AKA hopped up on their own fucking power and just wanting to fucking whomp a minority, because why not? They basically just set about him with truncheons and smashed him to bits. He had obviously serious neck injuries, serious spine injuries. He had a gash above his eye and actual swelling of the skull. The skull itself distended due to the severity of the beating. So, seems reasonable. I can see why a man who had no prior arrests, no charges whatsoever had ever been lobbied against him. He hadn't committed a single crime in his life. He'd been a law-abiding citizen his entire life. I can see why they do that to a guy like that, don't you?
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, they're both Hispanic, mate. They're basically, almost the same, so they just took what they can get. Well,
yeah.
No tattoos, but he has got a bit of a Spanish-sounding name, so he's having it.
And just so we know as well, those officers still have jobs. By the way, they're still practicing their jobs now. Because it's all got a bit dark for a bit, it is I hate it here, and obviously we do hate it here. We hate it here because of stories like this. Well, in the police corruption section, I'll try and give us a bit, try and lift the mood a little bit here. So this was another police. Sorry, oh no, actually this wasn't a police officer. Sorry, should have been in the stupid section. I fucked it up because it had police in the headline. I dragged it in the wrong bit. I'll tell the story anyway. Do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, this is too good to let it die, man.
All right, okay. Sorry, my bad. I put it in the wrong section. So it'll lift the mood. Police responded to a man who tried to run over his ex-wife in a car and instead damaged 14 vehicles and crashed into a neighbor's house before police got to respond there. He's facing one count of third-degree assault, one count of fourth-degree criminal possession of a weapon, one count of endangering the welfare of a child, one count of first-degree reckless endangerment, 2 counts of second-degree reckless endangerment, 5 counts of third-degree criminal mischief, and 8 counts of second-degree criminal mischief.
An absolute fucking goon. Got a picture of him as well. That's a good one.
He was just driving around. He was
Mate, he
driving
looks
around.
like the guy from Zimbabwe's Ugliest Sky Contest, but if he was just white.
Yeah, he does actually. He was just driving around, smashing into cars. Police don't shoot him though.
Yeah, gone full
I guess.
GTA.
Yeah, he's going full GTA. Police don't shoot him. He gets to live. He gets to go to jail with that big old ugly face of his. So yeah, fairly ridiculous, but it lifts the mood a bit. And then we get into our favorite part of the show: safe space nonsense. So, have you ever heard of the University of Yale?
Indeed, I have.
Pretty big deal. Uh, so this follows on from what Princeton University did. Of course, the other big academic establishment in America, Yale and Princeton, they have a lot of rivalries together. But on this particular matter, they seem to be unified. And that is, they have now abolished the title, which is very prominent in academia, of master for the leaders of its own residential colleges. You're going to ask me why, aren't you?
Of course.
Are you?
Yeah. Why? Tell me why.
Well, race activists have said that the word master is triggering because it brings up memories of the legacy of slavery. So it says here, a lot of our grandparents remember stories from their parents or their grandparents of actually having a master above you who has total control over your life. I don't think that's something Yale wants to promote, said a political science student and senior at Yale. And basically, what they've done is they've taken one very weird abuse of the term, one sort of bastardization of the word, and they've gone ham on it, and they said they're now going to ban the term master. And this came up before. This came up in August, where the head of Pearson College at Yale, Dr. Stephen Davis, said that he didn't want students to use the term master when talking about him. He said, I think there should be no context in our society or in our university in which an African-American student, professor, or staff member, or any person for that matter, should be asked to call anyone else master. And then, just in case you're thinking, well, it's all about race, right? Maybe that's a unique problem to America. Davis also added, and there should be no context where male-gendered titles should be normalized as markers
slip
of
that
authority.
in.
So there you go. Racist and sexist, of course. Word master. Racist and sexist. Pretty good. All right. So that's likely to proliferate now.
What's going to be the non-triggersome version of master then? So you can't say master degree anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you,
Supreme degree.
Yeah, well, I it's just unbelievable. So yeah, you can't say masters anymore. And I imagine with Princeton and Yale sort of falling in line and endorsing that ridiculous stance, that all of the universities across America will start adopting that. Because if there's precedent now, if you don't, you're going to get all these student activist lunatic types. Will demand, and they'll say your establishment is, of course, racist if you don't. Now, this was a nice story. I enjoyed this one. It's my biggest story for Breitbart. Obviously, I didn't break it, but I picked it up through the Associated Press wire. And I'm sure this is actually going to give us all a warm, rosy glow. It's all been a bit dark at the moment. This should cheer everybody up. So this is the story about Keene University students who were engaged in a rally to raise awareness for racial issues, particularly on campuses across America, like all of these rallies that we've seen lately. Now, it was all going very well. It was all going peaceful. And then one activist raised the alarm. Right, saying, look, they're threatening us on Twitter. This account is saying they're going to come and shoot us, that they're going to blow us up. They're going to get bombs. And the air turned. It turned sour, and everybody was really worried about it. Well, it turned out that it was one of the activists who issued the threats. Now, the 24-year-old, Kayla Simone McKelvey, She was at the protest. She's an alumni. She's a graduate. She attended the university and graduated and was back for the protest. She left the protest, went to the campus library. Smart thing. Smart thing. Went to the campus library, which of course has CCTV footage and of course logs every interaction with the internet on it. She created an anonymous Twitter account, issued the threats from there, and then following that, she came back to the group and told everyone about the threats, creating panic. And this isn't the first time we've seen, fake examples of imaginary hate crimes designed to elicit sympathy. You can see in my article, I've named a few examples, such as Adam Raposa, who vandalized property. He went around putting stickers saying exclusively for white people in downtown Austin, Texas, and this contributed to racial tensions. And when he got caught about it, this is a qualified defense lawyer, as I said, he turned around and said it was an act of satire. It was a cultural statement. Then, of course, you had over in the University of Buffalo, you had Ashley Powell, who went around the university campus hanging up whites-only signs over drinking fountains and stuff. Initially, there was panic. People thought there might be some sort of racist group on campus. No, it was an art project, she said. And then, of course, we've already talked about what happened over in Missouri, but just to reiterate it for the benefit of people watching the VOD, that was where the Missouri student body president, Peyton Head, he's called, claimed that the Ku Klux Klan were on campus. And the police came and there was no white hoods or sheets or anyone from the Ku Klux Klan to be found. Peyton Head had claimed that the National Guard had been called. The police said that wasn't true either. So this is this ongoing thing. They're so desperate to elicit sympathy for the movement that they're lying. They're making it up. And I think you can summarize this by saying, if you have to lie to serve your agenda, then your agenda is a lie. I mean, I do not believe for a second that America's finest universities are inherently racist institutions. I cannot believe that. Not in this day and age. Not at a time when, we were having record numbers of black students being brought into the student body. For the first time, black students are getting access to high-level educations, and sure, they're paying for it, but there's all sorts of bursaries and financial assistance to make this a goal. So I can't believe it's as bad as what some of these people are saying. Now, interestingly enough, I'm going to see if I can find this. This is another one of the things I'm going to do on the fly. Let me see if I can find it. Because, there's a website which collates all of these things. It's not very good to look at, but it lists each of the instances. And again, I'll send it to you on. In fact, no, I'll just shout it. I'll just shout it out because people can go and check it for themselves. It's called fakehatecrimes.org. Fakehatecrimes.org, and it's a database of basically hoax hate crimes where people have cried wolf and big. Oh, mate, it's pure 1992. Like it's it was one of the first sites ever on the internet. But it links to the news stories. It has all the sources there, and you can see for yourself. This is alarmingly common. That people lie about this type of shit. So, now, safe space nonsense wouldn't be complete without some sort of just the death of common sense. Common sense just, staked out in the desert, just fucking smeared in jam and fed to an angry nest of fire ants, a.k.a. social justice warriors. And this story blew my mind. If it wasn't for the 9-year-old thing, this would have been up there. This would have been the one. So here we go. A mother in a gated community, a gated apartment complex in Sacramento, is looking at up to 6 months of jail time because she let her 4-year-old boy play alone in the gated and totally secure complex playground, which was 120 feet from her front door. Okay, 6 months. she's looking at. And how did this happen? You might wonder, Sam. How did this happen? Well, two neighbours were watching the boy play. And to be fair, the boy is called Tomahawk, I think is his first. So
legend, mate. Tomahawk
oh,
Hendron.
Tomahawk Hendron. I think he's got things.
You got a wrestling name, mate.
Boss name, that is, like, fair play. But he was playing by himself. They observed this. And then they went over and said, maybe you should go home. And Tomahawk said, fuck you, I'm not going home.
Tomahawk
he didn't
stays
say
where he wants, mate.
What he said is, he said, I wasn't done playing. So they got so upset that the kid just sort of wasn't listening to them. They called the police and Child Protective Services. Now, because of that, the mother, who again, I stress, is 120 feet away, in a gated community that's totally secure and doesn't have access to the general public, only residents, she was arrested on a felony charge of child endangerment and neglect.
Unreal, man.
But they reduced it to misdemeanors. So at that point, she has the cop to the misdemeanor, and she would get 30 days jail and a year probation. But she refused to. She refused to accept it. She says it's ridiculous. So they've now said, well, that offer's off the table. 6 months in jail and 3 years probation. That's what she's looking at. A loving mother who's not doing anything wrong, letting a kid play unattended in a fucking playground that's in a gated community that's completely secure, couldn't be a safer environment, is basically getting triggered because two fucking piece of shit neighbours couldn't keep their fucking nose out of it, and because they got mugged off by a kid called...
by a kid.
They got wrecked by a 4-year-old. Their fragile little egos. You know.
Got told to suck
Check this out.
by Tomahawk.
I don't know why this quote is in the news article, by the way. But they asked the mother why, if she loved her kid. I mean, fuck you, so retarded. But she said, of course I love him. I do everything for him. I breastfed him for 28 months. I cloth diapered. You know, obviously I'm avoiding helicopter parenting, which is right. You should. It's very good for her. And then they asked Tomahawk, who is an outdoors boy, and they said, what do you think about your mother? And he said, I love her like 20 times, maybe 1,000.
That's like a Beetlejuice quote, that is, mate. Motherfucker like nine bananas.
Wait. Sounds more like a Saudi Arabian judge. I'm going to lash you 20 times, maybe 1,000. Maybe 1,000. But that's unbelievable. Yeah, that is unbelievable. So, just again, honestly, these people that haven't got anything better to do. And then we go from one parent who clearly loves her kid, clearly wants to do right by her kid, and we go into, again, it's a truly shocking story, again from Chicago, where a mother attacked her 2-year-old daughter and killed her because the girl wouldn't eat noodles.
Fucking hell, man.
So I'll read this to you. This is disturbing. Trigger warning incoming. The mother cooked noodles for the child. When the child didn't eat her noodles on Saturday afternoon, the mother began to yell at the girl and then began to just punch her repeatedly in the stomach. The blows were so severe that the boyfriend of the mother got up and said, that would have knocked the wind out of me. The boyfriend isn't the baby's father, but he intervened and told the police and testified again. Well, not testified, but gave a statement against her. And he said, I've never raised a finger to the child. So the child was beaten to death. And the good news is that this startling and wonderful example of motherhood is 6 weeks pregnant.
Sick.
Brilliant, hey. These people.
Definitely should be like you test for your breed.
If if you want to read
punch your kid to
a
death.
full harrowing example of the sustained child abuse that went on in this home, just do it. But I don't recommend putting yourself through it. It's harrowing. There's all sorts of other shit in there, feeding laxatives to the kid, and just fucking unbelievable. These people are around now. Let's do it. Let's get into where we're going to end the show. We usually end on a kind of, we try and end on a relatively cheery note, but of course it's going to be immensely difficult because we're going to war, Sam.
Yep. I'm safe, mate. No one's bombing Port Talbot, mate. I'm sound.
Well, give it time. Give it time.
If
I'm
Port
going to
Talbot gets bombed, mate, I'll be fucking livid. If I've lived in this shit town all this time and even I get targeted, mate, I will be fucking fuming.
I think. I don't worry. I think you'll be all right. Now, let me just give you a brief summary. Obviously, following the Islamic State attacks, which of course have been prolific. We've even had another shooting in America. I'm not going to get into that. We haven't had time to do our due diligence and lay it out. Perhaps that's something we'll get into in another show. But obviously, you've seen the story. And obviously, this is all linked to Paris and everything else that's been going on. Anyway, what has happened in retaliation is we as the collective, I mean, obviously it's Russia as well, but the West have now decided that we're going to lead airstrikes on Syria. Now, obviously we know the Islamic State does have a presence in Syria, but I would like to have thought that by now we would realize that when you bomb these countries, it's very, very rare, and I mean super rare, that you do so without collateral damage. In fact, as it's been proven in numerous reports, more often than not, airstrikes are more likely to do damage to, at best, essential infrastructure that ruins civilians' lives in its absence, or at worst, things such as schools, hospitals, and everything else, housing. So, we're now, just in case Syria wasn't getting enough problems after having a civil war which has lasted 4 years, killed 250,000 people, and left 11 million people homeless. And it's that civil war that allowed the jihadis to take over this space. We're now going to collectively carpet bomb the people who remain. Hopefully, if we chuck enough shit at a wall, some will stick, and maybe we'll kill some ISIS people. So that's going to be our long-term plan.
But for every ISIS member they kill, doesn't everyone else see that for everyone you kill, you create another 10 because of the families that have been killed?
Of course, because what happens is when you leave these fucking countries absolutely ravaged and war-torn and destitute, and you kill children, and you kill women, and you kill men going about their day-to-day doing nothing. They just happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time because a bomb doesn't discriminate. When you do that, obviously people are a little bit miffed about it. Obviously, this contributes towards radicalization. These are indeed the facts that get put into the propaganda videos that people use to recruit radicals. And just with that in mind, Sam, I've added a link for you. I want to just show you what's going on in these friendly, targeted carpet bombings. This is a 3-minute video which came out of the Shaba Press Agency, an Arabic press group. Basically, this was a video filmed by a member of the Shaba Press, Juma Al-Ahmad, and he is in the town of Hayan, which is in the Aleppo suburb. This is in Syria. And what's been happening here is obviously they've been getting these Russian carpet bombings. Well, unfortunately, Juma Al-Ahmad will not be talking about this anymore because he has been killed due to these carpet bombings. And he filmed this video. You don't see him die in the video. This just happens to be the last one that he filmed. But you can see for yourself what a carpet bombing looks like. And you tell me where the members of ISIS are in this footage. Have you got the sound up?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think you can speak over it though, mate. So like it said you would be highly.
استهداف مسجد في بلدة حيان أدى لدمار المسجد بالكامل. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل.
حرب استهدف المدنية.
الله أكبر.
لا في مقرات إرهابية ولا في شيء، بيوت مدنية، هي بيوت مدنية وهي الأضرار المادية.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
نفس المكان.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
I think one of the weirdest things about watching this video is like when you look at the kids, like some of them aren't even scared. And I think that's what is the most dehumaning.
Well, this is the reality, isn't it? You know, this is the day-to-day that they're dealing with out there in Syria. And, you know, when you have been in a war zone for 4 years, yeah, even the most horrendous atrocity will become somewhat glib and trite. But this is what we have signed off on now, the British government, in a bid to destroy ISIS. Well, let me tell you, by indiscriminately carpet bombing, one of the most cowardly forms of military intervention, you aren't going to eradicate ISIS. If you want to eradicate ISIS, you need to use intelligence. You need to get troops on the ground. You need to locate strongholds, and you need to commit to defeating ISIS while also working with local groups on the ground and civilians to help build up infrastructure, to help support them and make them want to help you overthrow ISIS in that region. By flying over them constantly and dropping bombs on them and blowing up schools and hospitals and all these other targets, this is what happens. You're never going to defeat a terrorist organization that way. This is a guerrilla movement. For all of the scaremongering headlines about them being this worldwide organization, their membership isn't that small. You could probably take a couple of rugby teams from Wales and beat these guys. But the reality is, as long as we keep doing this sustained carpet bombing campaign, we're never going to get rid of them. It's the most indiscriminate, non-targeted, ridiculous way. It's like literally trying to bomb a needle out of a haystack. It's nonsense. And we've signed off to it again. And I'm disappointed in the British government signing off to it again because, yes, we have to combat ISIS. Yes, we have to fight ISIS. Fuck it. I'll say it. We need to kill ISIS. They need to be eradicated. I will say all of these things. But what we can't do is commit the same mistakes over and over and over and over again when it comes to the Middle East. And we've just done it so many times. In fact, it was our illegal invasion and occupation of Iraq that helped contribute towards the growth of ISIS. Because for all Saddam Hussein was an atrocious dictator and a horrible human being, he certainly kept the radical groups in that region in line. And you will know what that entails. But unfortunately, in the world of geopolitics, you don't always get to choose between good and evil. A lot of the time, you're choosing between evil and greater evil. That's the sad reality. And the West has made a horrendous contribution to that being the reality that we live in today. So That's it, man. I think we're all going to war again, brother. And just to leave you with this thought, the final story on which we'll end on: a former ISIS hostage, the French journalist Nicolas Henin, who was held by the Islamic State for 10 months. He's come out and begged people not to bomb Syria, saying that during his time amongst the ISIS people, that's what they were talking about, that this was their plan, that it's all a trap, that they would embed themselves into these regions that already had problems and already had cause to hate the West, make themselves incredibly difficult, move around all the time, and then they would goad the West into attacking them. And his exact quote were, "Strikes on ISIS are a trap. The winner of this war will not be the parties that have the newest, most expensive, most sophisticated weaponry, but the party that manages to have the people on its side." Well, when you kill civilians in a region, obviously they're going to align themselves with the people that fight back. That's just common sense. So it's a shame that once again, common sense hasn't prevailed, but I can't say I'm surprised. Anyway, Sam, any final thoughts?
Fuck this world. As always, mate, the same note we always end on.
All right. Well, look, Sam, thanks a lot for your contribution. Thanks to all the people watching, be it either live or in VOD form. That's the end of another episode of I Hate It Here. That was the news. I really wish it wasn't. See you next week.